Act 1. The illusion of choice. Walk into any gleaming optical boutique and you'll see a wall that looks like democracy. Prada, Chanel, Ray-Ban, Oakley, Versace, Michael Kors, Tiffany, Armani. A parade of different names, different logos, different lifestyles, all whispering the same promise. Choose who you want to be. But here's the thing about walls. Sometimes they're not displays, sometimes they're camouflage. Because in the modern eyewear industry, competition is often just theatre, staged under perfect lighting, with a single company collecting tickets at the door, Luxottica. Not always the owner of every label you see, sometimes it's even more elegant than that. Luxottica can own brands outright, and it can also license the right to manufacture and sell eyewear under luxury names that don't want the headache of factories, inventory, and retail logistics. Either way, the consumer sees Prada versus Chanel. The empire sees Prada and Chanel flowing through the same distribution arteries, and Luxottica didn't stop at the products. They reached into the places where people buy them: Sunglass Hut, Lens Crafters, Pearl Vision, Target Optical, stores that feel independent until you follow the paper trail. This is the illusion, a marketplace of rivals, and behind it, a single house with keys to the supply chain, the shelves, and, most importantly, the price. Choice isn't always what it looks like. Sometimes choice is just a velvet rope, and a man behind it deciding who gets in. Act 2. The orphan who bought the world. Every empire loves a myth, a founder story that sounds like destiny, because destiny sells better than strategy. Leonardo del Vecchio didn't arrive draped in silk. He came from the opposite side of the mirror: poverty, hardship, a childhood shaped by an orphanage. And he learned something early. In life, the people who control the tools don't have to beg for the jobs. He apprenticed in metalworking, small parts, precision, cold discipline. Then, in the Italian Alps, a Gordo, he started making eyewear components. Not fashion, not glamour, parts. But Del Vecchio understood what most industries pretend not to know. If you don't own the whole machine, you're always one phone call away from irrelevance. So Luxottica didn't grow like a brand. It grew like a blueprint. Manufacturing, distribution, retail, one layer at a time, like a well-dressed conquest. And then came the crown jewel. Ray-Ban. By the late 1990s, Ray-Ban wasn't old money. It was tired money, discounted, ubiquitous, a classic that had been dragged through fluorescent aisles until it looked ordinary. The kind of brand you could find anywhere, sometimes for the price of a tank of gas. Luxottica bought it, and then did something ruthless, something brilliant. They didn't just sell Ray-Ban, they rescued it from accessibility. They tightened distribution, elevated the image, polished the mythology. They turned a commodity into a status symbol, and then priced it like one. That's the trick luxury has always played. Not this costs more because it's better. This costs more because fewer people are allowed to have it. The same silhouette, now framed as heritage, the same plastic and glass, now framed as identity. And when you put identity on a shelf, you can charge whatever you want. Del Vecchio didn't just buy a brand, he bought a lever, that moves the price of self-image. Act 3. The Mafia Tactic. Here's where the story gets darker, because owning the market isn't only about what you make, it's about what you can deny. Oakley wasn't born in a Milan boardroom. It was American, brash, athletic, tech-driven, a company that didn't want permission from old Europe to define cool, and Oakley, crucially, didn't want to be owned. So Luxottica tried to buy them. Oakley refused, and then the oxygen got thin. Because in eyewear, shelf space isn't just real estate, it's survival. Sunglass Hut, one of the biggest retail pipelines in the world, suddenly mattered more than any ad campaign. And when your biggest customer decides to reduce orders, it doesn't feel like a normal business decision, it feels like a message. Oakley's stock took a hit during the early 2000s turbulence surrounding that retail relationship. Lawsuits flew, accusations simmered. The public saw corporate drama, but inside the industry, people saw something colder. A gatekeeper reminding a rebel that gates exist. You don't have to break a competitor's product. If you can break their distribution, you don't have to beat them in advertising. If you can starve them at the register. Critics called it the corporate equivalent of a shakedown, not with baseball bats, with purchase orders, and then, years later, the ending arrived like a quiet, closing argument. Luxottica acquired Oakley. The rebel brand folded into the same empire it once resisted. In business, we love to say, if you can't beat them, join them. But sometimes the truth is uglier. If you can't buy them, make sure they can't breathe until they're affordable. Act 4. The ultimate vertical monopoly. Most monopolies are loud. This one is dressed in tailored charcoal and speaks softly. Because Luxottica didn't just want to sell you frames, they wanted to control the entire ritual of vision. Think about the path your glasses take. You get an eye exam. A prescription is written. You choose frames. You choose lenses. You pay, often with insurance involved, believing there's a system negotiating on your behalf. Now tilt the camera back. Luxottica became a giant in frames, brands they owned, brands they licensed, brands they manufactured. Then they conquered retail. Stores where the purchase happens, where the salesperson guides you, where the upsell is scripted as recommendation. And then the final move, lenses. When Luxottica combined forces with Essilor, a lens powerhouse, the industry witnessed something almost poetic in its ambition. Frames and lenses under one roof, the skeleton and the skin. A single organism, Essilor Luxottica. Now the company isn't just in the fashion business, it's in the optics business, the supply business, the trusted professional business. And then there's iMed, vision benefits. Insurance doesn't feel like power to consumers, it feels like a coupon with paperwork. But in the hands of an empire, insurance is a steering wheel. It decides what's in network. It shapes where people go. It influences what feels affordable and what feels impossible. So the machine tightens. The brand you want, the store you enter, the lens options you're offered, the insurance rules that guide your hand. It's not that they own every doctor, but they've built a world where the exam, the purchase, and the payment can all orbit the same corporate sun. Vertical integration is a polite term. A better one might be inevitability. When a company controls the ladder, it doesn't have to climb. It just chooses who's allowed to. Act 5, the $400 piece of plastic. So why does it cost so much? Why can a pair of glasses, a few grams of plastic, a couple of lenses, a hinge that could fit on a thumbnail balloon into hundreds of dollars? Because you're not paying for plastic. You're paying for a story, protected by a moat. In a truly competitive market, price is an argument. Companies fight, margins compress, consumers win. But when one empire holds the brands, the manufacturing, the distribution, the retail floor, and even influences the benefits ecosystem, price stops being an argument. Price becomes a decree. And the decree is wrapped in velvet language: premium, handcrafted, advanced coatings, designer, limited. Words that sound like quality, but function like permission slips. Now, to be fair, there are real costs: retail leases, staff, marketing, licensing fees, global logistics, R&D for lenses, warranties, returns. But those don't explain the feeling you get at the counter when your total climbs and climbs and climbs, and the salesperson says it with a straight face. That's pretty standard. Standard. As if the market has spoken. But markets don't speak when they're owned. They echo. And here's the final twist, the part that makes this story truly old money. You can walk away. You can shop online, hunt discounts, choose generics, dodge the boutiques. But most people won't. Because glasses aren't just products. They sit on your face. They are identity in public. And identity is where monopolies become most profitable. Not because they force you, because they persuade you that you're choosing. So the next time you see a wall of brands and it feels like freedom, listen carefully. That soft music in the store, that warm lighting, that sense of selection, it might not be a marketplace. It might be a dynasty. And you're just renting a little piece of it, one $400 frame at a time.